Well, General Motors CEO Rick Wagner is also coming under increasing pressure to resign this morning. Democratic Senator Christopher Dodd from Connecticut was out in front of this issue on CBS's Faces in the Nation yesterday. Take a listen to what he had to say.
If you're going to really restructure this, and you've got to bring in a new team to do this, in my view.
I'm sorry, we're having an audio problem there. All right, well, the bottom line is Senator Christopher Dodd said new management is required. GM says it needs help just to stay in business for the rest of the month. Brad Coulter is a turnaround consultant for O'Keefe & Associates, as well as a board member for the Turnaround Management Association. And Bill Long is the Director of Manager Research and Analytics from the investment firm Hedge Harbor. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Brad, let me start with you. Do you agree? I know you didn't get to listen to all of it, but the bottom line is I'm sure you've heard over the weekend Senator Christopher Dodd suggesting that Rick Wagner should depart from his position at GM if they're going to give the funds. You agree or disagree with that?
Well, I agree with it. I think anytime you have a large organization that's in a crisis situation with largely homegrown management, it makes sense to bring in a change agent that can really challenge the established order of doing things. So if they are going to bring somebody in, I would hope it's somebody from the outside that can do similar to what Alan Mulally has done at Ford and really shake things up a bit.
Bill, why is it that they're talking about Rick Wagner and Nardelli and Mulally are sort of getting the pass? I mean, I understand they've come in a little bit later in the scheme of things than Wagner, but their companies in the past year and a half, 2 years that they've been there are not doing very well.
Well, I think it is the time factor. They have been there a shorter period of time. They probably have more of a reputation for being able to implement change, which Nardelli did at GE and at Ford for the other gentleman. So I think it's just a matter that he's been there longer. He seems to have had his time.
So, Brad, we're talking about $15 billion initial loan that's basically coming out of that Department of Energy money, but there's a March 31st deadline we're hearing. What is it that we think they can say or do in terms of restructuring that will convince the members of Congress to give them the rest of the money?
I think there's quite a bit they can do, and I really like the way the program's set up, where you've got the lender of last resort being the federal government having the big stick that can make the constituents come to the table and get things done. I think in terms of wages, both salaried and hourly, there needs to be wage cuts. You have to look at the VEBA payments for the retiree health care. Can you really afford to make those? The union gets supplemental unemployment benefits, whereby when they're laid off, the auto companies supplement their unemployment compensation for up to 48 weeks. And then you've got to look at debt service. Should there be a deferral of debt service for 6 to 8 months? But whatever you can do to get these companies toward a cash positive position needs to be done by March 31.
Bill, this has dominated the headlines. I imagine it will still continue to be the story in 2009. Are we any more convinced, after we've seen them testify now several weeks in a row, back and forth, that the American people are starting to support this plan, because they've been overridingly against it, but now they're starting to get more phone calls, at least congressional members are, that perhaps something should be done?
Well, I don't think the American people want to see the big three automakers fail. Unfortunately, I think they're in a very tough position in this economy. People don't want to pay large amounts of money for cars that aren't good quality. So I think it's going to be difficult for these car makers to come out of this if they don't start improving the quality, and that's a long-term plan for them.
Yeah, which is kind of makes the Rick Wagner mea culpa in all the newspapers today a little bit more heartfelt, hopefully. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Brad and Bill, thank you guys so much. We're going to go upstairs to the Fox Business Desk, Connell McShane. I think you have some breaking news, Connell?